Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. This is the Doryani fight, and it's at the end of Act 3, one of the biggest boss battles you'll face, certainly the more challenging boss of all of them you'll face in Act 3, depending on your build, etc. Um, and what I wanted to do was actually give you some tips on how I managed to beat him the first time and also this time, and actually just emphasize what actually does help you in this fight, particularly if we don't take into account the actual strategies during the battle. Let's take a look at, for example, some of the things that I would do if I were you, and what helped me to finally beat him the first time was actually to emphasize, first tip is to emphasize fire, lightning, and chaos resistance as much as possible. Most of the attacks that he'll do that actually will one-shot you will be in the fire, lightning, and chaos um, domains, if you like, and so having as high resistance as possible with those. I think when I first actually beat him, I had chaos at 5% resistance, fire at 35% resistance, and lightning in the 20s, I think it was. That's probably enough. If you can get close to those levels, that's good. If you can have better chaos, great, fantastic. Second tip is to get movement speed. You can see there I've got boots that have 20% increased movement speed. Obviously that makes a difference for map clearing and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, with this fight, there's many AoE effects, there's many situations where you need to be able to move fast and not only roll, but actually move fast out of a particular zone. We'll talk about that as we go through the fight itself. So get movement speed as high as you possibly can. I had success once I got it beyond 15% through the boots there, the 20% increased movement speed, and I think I also, in my passive skill tree, found a couple of nearby movement speed enhancers. So I got something, in the late 20s in terms of increased movement speed. That will stand you in good stead, and as you'll see in the fight when we go through it now. Okay, so let's take a look at the battle then, and just analyze some of the tactics that I took, which actually helped me, and something that you need to be aware of. Obviously, if you don't want any spoilers, you can stop now. But let's take a look together. So the first thing to say is that it doesn't really matter if you're right close to Doryani or whether you're moving far away. He is going to kite you. He is going to move around. You can see he actually can cross over the map in a very short order. He's got that central location as well, that central hub, which is going to fire chaos bolts in a sort of radial form. You've got to kind of avoid those, and obviously being as far away as you can, which also helps. I've also had some success with getting close to that rotating hub. For some reason, I think that seems to have an effect on it. Interrupting him as much as possible with stun or stun build-up is a great thing as well. So if you've got abilities that give you that. You see how he pours out those pellets, those red chaos pellets? Watch out for that. Get out of the way as soon as you see that animation. Also the lightning, the Sith sort of lightning, get out of the way of that, obviously. And he kind of moves through an arc of doing that, so you can certainly get out of the way as much as you can. He goes into this middle phase when he gets to about half-life or lower, so if you can get him even lower, then that's even better. But when he moves into the sort of crab platform, the sort of tank phase, there are various attacks that he does where he actually will pound on the ground, and that will actually show you a zone which expands out. And so if you get out of that, and that's why the movement speed is so important. Okay, keep on moving to try and turn the crab around as much as possible. There's one of those zones, for example. You've got to always keep an eye on his tail, with his sort of multi-pronged tail area, because if that ever sort of lights up, he's going to go into this kind of death blossom type attack. Very, very irritating. Otherwise, kite him around, keep him moving around. You see there I've built up the stun, so it actually kind of allows me to go and smash him for a little bit without him actually moving around. He'll say something like, come on, get up, and then it starts moving again. He then goes into kind of an aerial mode with an aerial laser. You've got to get out of its way there as well. And aside from that, he's also, doing this kind of pounding fire zone tactic. He shoots flamethrowers, which again, if your resistance is high enough, you don't have to worry too much about that. He also swings his arms around. That's going to cause mischief for you. Sometimes going to hit you hard. You can try and stay out of the way as much as possible. Goes into this kind of electrical mode. This is the killer that always used to get me. That particular one where he zooms up into the air, or part of his crab kind of zooms up into the air, and then you get that kind of zone where it's expanding out, but it's clearly not the fire or ice zone, or an electrical zone. It's kind of much worse than that, because if it goes off, it's a significant blast. So watch for when the platform that he's on kind of moves up, and it's normally around about that single laser point. Then we've got some individual lightning zones, for example, fire zones. Quite easy to avoid those. I built up stun again, and so I can actually shoot him for a little bit, avoid the laser. What we didn't see in this particular battle that I succeeded is that Death Blossom laser from his rear area there with the spikes. That is a killer, and the way that I actually tackled that was try to get in and around him, and he's going to move around very quickly. So the Death Blossom is laser, spikes are actually going to shoot out in all directions around the arena, but not all at the same time. So as long as you can kind of almost move in a spiral, moving around his circular motion, you should just be fine. It also helps to kind of go under him at that point. Sometimes that's good too, so that you can get away from his rear tail laser spikes. And there we go. So that is the Doryani fight, and some of the tactics that I used, and some of the sort of ways that I prepared for the fight. I think it's one of the things that, as you do it 2 or 3 times, it's only going to take you 5 minutes each time, probably less if you get one shot. You're going to learn every time that you do it. I would say don't go and dramatically change your build. Rather kind of work with the tools that you have. It's key to kind of get him down to that half-life stage, so that you can then move into the zone where he's in the crab mode. That's the second phase. And so as long as you're doing damage, you're breaking through his shield, not allowing his shield to regenerate, and pretty much putting the pressure on, he'll move into that crab zone as quickly as possible. Okay, so there we have it. Hope that made sense. And if you've got any questions, please drop them in the comments below. I try to give answers as quickly as I possibly can. If anyone else knows some strategies, please drop them in the comments as well. It will be very useful. Just a quick recap. Get your fire, lightning, and chaos resistances as high as possible. And very much, probably I would say the most important thing, get your movement speed above 20%. Okay, as whatever way you do that, with through gear, through passive skills, get your movement speed up above 20%. You'll find it so much easier to avoid the one-shot zones of damage that he's going to create as he battles you. I hope that helps. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.